Greetings, this is Dr. Della Welch. This is tape 5 of torts, and we have been reviewing the law of negligence. And we first start out, as you recall from the prior tapes, with duty. There's a general duty rule that everyone has a duty not to expose others to unreasonable, foreseeable risk of harm. And you look at the utility of a situation and the risk that would be involved to see if someone was negligent. If the park can fix a ramp for $50, but the risk is people will be falling off the ramp, then they should get the ramp fixed. Also, we have, under the duty rule, certain special duty rules, such as a child is held to a standard of a child of like age, intelligence, and experience. And then a professional doctor is held to a national standard. And then there's the rescuer rule. Danger invites rescue. Let's say that someone is something very careless and it causes someone, after they've done this careless act, to have an ambulance, and the ambulance person gets killed. Well, then you're liable if you have created a situation that invited rescue. And then there's the violation of statute. If the statute is you're not to go more than 30 miles an hour and you're going 50 miles an hour and you cause an accident, then that will be a violation of the duty rule. If there's a special relationship, such as teacher-student, and the students get ill, then the teacher must come to the aid. And then under breach, you can show the teacher didn't come to the aid. Or we have this great tool of res ipsa loquitur, which means the thing speaks for itself. Suppose you buy a bottle of Coke and there's a mouse in there. Well, the mouse didn't get there unless someone was negligent, if the Coke bottle was in the complete control of the store. And so that would establish the duty in the breach. Or if you buy a can of soup and what you have in the soup is a mouse, you thought was cream of chicken soup, and it's cream of mouse soup, well, someone was negligent. And then we go to causation. And causation is of two types. The actual causation, where you use the but-for test. Suppose I take my class to a field trip and I'm acting real negligent on the top of the building and I bump them off of the building. Well, but for my being negligent and careless, would they be going down the side of the building at this time and in this way? And we would say no. And then you have what's called the proximate cause or the nearest cause. Suppose after I bump you off the side of the building, some homeless person shoots you in the temple. Well, was there an intervening act? Yes, a criminal act of a third person. Then you must ask, was it foreseeable or not foreseeable? If it's foreseeable, you're liable. I would say it's unforeseeable that you would have this criminal person shoot you and have a criminal act, so that would cut off liability. And then you look, was there damages? You can get property damages, you can get medical damages such as hospital bills paid for. You can get pain and suffering, which is usually 3 times the hospital bills. Many times if there's been an accident, the insurance company may ask you to sign a release. Well, you can sign a release on the car or the blue book value of the car, you know. But on personal injury damages, you don't want to release that because it takes the time to know the full extent of your damages. Then look at the defenses. Contributory negligent, maybe you were driving on the wrong side of the road, but you were negligent yourself by having a dirty windshield. So you may be contributory negligent or comparative negligence. You were driving on the wrong side of the road, but the other person was speeding. So we parcel out the negligence and we reduce the damages accordingly. The big one here also is assumption of the risk. Suppose that you go visit a zoo and you are warned not to pet the monkey, but you just really like the monkey, and so you put your hand forward and you get your finger bit off. Well, then you assumed the risk. Now, in addition to intentional torts and negligence, there's what's known as strict liability. That's keeping an unnatural condition or an ultra-hazardous condition, or maybe you're keeping a wild animal like a python, and it gets out and it eats the neighborhood boy to death. Well, that's absolute liability. And then products liability. If you buy a toy for your child at Christmas and it costs about $6, well, $4 of that would be products liability insurance. And the other side needs to show a defect. Was the product defective when it left the manufacturer? A defense is misuse of the product. Suppose you live where they have a lot of rain and cold weather, and you get up late and your socks are wet. So you put them in the toaster to dry so you can go to work. But the problem is the socks flare out and burn the toaster and burn part of the house. Well, that's a misuse of the product. You couldn't call the toaster company and say, you know, this toaster here doesn't dry socks worth a darn, and I got injured, and also my house was injured and destroyed. And they'd say, well, that's a misuse of the product. So remember, assumption of the risk and misuse may be possible defenses in strict liability and products liability.